Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to
Something else.
something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matala, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
And welcome to episode number 293 of Something Else. Feast your hair holes in this week's episode as we look at the second annual David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions from May 5th, 1985. My name is Arya, and joining me as always is the 26,154th person who was in Texas Stadium that day. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell are you doing today?
Terrific, Arya. How are you?
Fan-frickin-tastic. So let's just rip off the Band-Aid right at the top of the show. It's just the two of us. We'll have Lizzy Flanagan on someday whenever we can get our schedules worked out.
Sorry.
It happens. People have lives. Shockingly, not everybody are the two of us. And go read her book. I Am Your Champion, all about the life and times of Gino Hernandez. It is a quality book.
It's a very good book. A lot of, we've had several wrestling autobiographies of varying quality, some really excellent. But there has been a growth in the last maybe 10 years or so of, very like scholarly, like rigorously researched and written wrestling biographies. And I really need to read more of them. I need to read Pat LaPrade and Bertrand Bear's book on Andre the Giant. I need to read Brian Solomon's book on the Sheik. I read what's the fellow's name? Liam something, who wrote the Brian Pillman biography. But there's some really good ones out there. And
Was that
maybe we need. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Was that the Crazy Like a Fox book?
Yes.
That is excellent. That is excellent.
Yeah. Maybe we need to start some kind of wrestling book club sub podcast here on the network.
We'll see how long that would last.
Well,
it would definitely be fun, but right now we're a little backed up when it comes to classic wrestling too. But yes, the Andre book was really good. The Ric Flair book that Tim Hornbaker put out.
I did read that one, yes.
I really like it, and we've discussed this on the show before because my biggest problem were all those fucking endnotes. It's distracting, but when you get past that, it's a good book.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. As we all know, I am an academic historian by professional training.
Yep.
I fucking love my notes, but as I have gotten deeper and deeper into my own research, I've always kind of felt this way, but I feel it more and more every day, especially dealing with, as I do, a lot of digital scans of books. Footnotes are far superior to endnotes. Just put it right there on the fucking page at the bottom so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. And this is not an author thing. This is by publisher. I finally hit on a thing, double bookmarks. I finally hit on, after years and years, when I was reading Lizzy's book, I had my bookmark where I was reading and my bookmark at where I was in the endnotes.
Nice. I never even considered that. The other thing, and this was also an issue with Tim Hornbaker on his NWA book, which was also really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's I don't know if he's not a fan because I've never talked to him, but you could tell he's not he doesn't enjoy writing about closer to modern day than he does history stuff. Like read Ric Flair's book, like it
Yeah,
takes him like
yes,
2 chapters to cover from like 1997 until present day. Like,
Eh,
you know,
yes.
and I get some of those weren't the most sterling years of Ric
But
Flair's career, but
the chapters about the 70s and 80s are fucking phenomenal.
yes, they are. And like that's why I was like so like, wow, we're really flying through the end here, aren't we? I know he didn't write that book, but remember Steve Austin's book WWE put out in like '03 or '04?
I never read it. I remember Artie and Blade making fun of it on WrestleCrap Radio once upon a time.
Yes, I haven't read it in forever. I think I lost the book, so that probably helps too. But if I remember correctly, and he put WrestleManias 13, 14, and 15 in the same chapter, and like everything that covered that period of time.
That's
Like
like his peak fucking run. His peak run was one chapter.
I I could it might be 14, 15, and 17, but I just remember there were three WrestleManias in one chapter. And I'm pretty sure it was 13, 14, 15.
Do you remember the Rock's book?
Oh my God, that was so fucking bad.
I had a great deal of fun being 13 years old and showing everybody at school the scene that he wrote about losing his virginity. Which obviously, like in retrospect, it's very obviously ghost written, but it was really
Yes.
funny.
Yes. When he started just talking in third person and in
Yeah.
character, that was
Uh,
so fucking annoying.
okay,
The funny thing is,
Daniel.
like with a lot of pro wrestling books, I find their pre-wrestling days, or at least early wrestling days, to be the most fascinating parts of the book. Like Mick Foley's book, Have a Nice Day. It's like I was less interested when he got to WWE for the first time in '96. I was far more interested in the pre-'96 days because I knew all the '96 stuff because it's me. So
Brian Danielson's book, the one that he put out with WWE, it's well, like it's really, really good. Except you know what I'm talking about too.
yes, I do.
The fucking like alternate little chapter pieces that are written by the other guy that WrestleMania 30 weekend.
Yep.
Like the actual stuff that's Brian Danielson telling his story is fucking great, but the way they
Yes,
did that book is so fucking silly.
that guy needed to be fired. Like it literally was two different books. He wrote it like he wrote it in WWE speak. And Brian Danielson did not write his part in WWE speak.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know if that guy actually was a writer in WWE. I don't know if I think somebody said he wrote for the website, which probably makes more sense. But like, yeah, I got to the point where like a quarter of the way through the book, I just stopped reading those parts and would just skip to, the rest of it. Like, I also
Yeah.
thought like he was madly in love with Brie Bella. That's the other thing I got out of it. Like, this is a book about Brian Danielson, and it's like he's going on and on about how hot Brie Bella is. I'm like, okay, buddy.
Those two have always been like couple goals.
Brie Bella and that guy from WWE.com.
No, Brie Bella and Brian Danielson.
That makes more sense. I just love that their first date was to the Boston Aquarium. Which, by the way, Boston Aquarium is a great aquarium. If you ever get up this way and you want something to do, that is a must go.
I
Uh,
don't have any desire to go to an aquarium.
well, if you're ever up this way and you need an hour or two to kill.
Well, there's an aquarium in Houston, and I've never been, and it's
Hmm.
like, well, here's the thing.
Hmm.
Anything that has like the tunnel thing where you're underneath and there's glass and you can see the fish through it, that would give me like I'm not a claustrophobic person, but
It'd
that
be
in
claustrophobic.
particular would give me so much anxiety.
I can confirm that at least the last time I went to the Boston Aquarium, and I doubt they'd make this change because it would require a huge change, that was not something that they had.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. By the way, not that there's not a decent amount to talk about on the David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions, but there's one bit of audio to play. And I've learned that the shows that don't have a lot of audio to play are shortest shows. So we're kind of padding out the runtime here. Because at least the audio always gives us a break to be like, okay, trying to refuel the jets before going off on another tangent. But we'll have plenty of stuff to tangent about.
What's the one bit of audio?
The intro with DML.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah. Like there's like 20 seconds of Gary Hart on the microphone at one point, but it's not worth it. And I thought about playing the angle with Gino and Chris, but it's just DML yelling, and we don't need
Yeah.
the less DML yelling in our life, the better. And for those who don't know our acronyms by now, Drunk Mark Lawrence.
It took me
Because
so long to get used to because, like, for a while, I was like, wait, Dave Meltzer, what?
yes, I have learned that I need to abbreviate because sometimes saying the people's names 8 bajillion times in 2 paragraphs, it's annoying. Although then you get to points where, um, what you call it? Who was it in Smoky Mountain that has the exact same initials? Wasn't it? Oh, the Thrill Seekers and Tracy Smothers are both
Oh,
TS.
I do. I could probably write like a fascinating thesis on like who I use first names for and who I use last names for.
I bet that would be interesting. So,
Yeah.
by the way, next week we're gonna do the May 11th and May 18th Mid South, and I did look. So the May 11th World Class show has Kerry versus Gang and the first 3 falls of the 12-man tag. May
Oh my
18th,
God.
yeah, May 18th has the rest of that match, Mike versus Rip, and the tag title match. And then it turns out Flair versus Kevin takes up a good chunk of May 25th, but there is some stuff before that we'll be talking about. So we're not going to be skipping the May 25th episode. We'll just have not a whole lot to say during that one.
Because that is like they went 20 minutes.
They did. They did. And I actually really liked that match.
It was very good.
Yeah.
It was they stole the show, but it was petty theft.
Yeah, I would say they stole the show, but I wouldn't say it was petty theft to that degree because at least I really like the 12-man tag. Maybe
I'm
because
glad one of us did.
maybe because I really enjoyed the chaos of it, and like especially when we got to the end, that fifth fall, there was a lot of false finishes in that fifth fall, and you know I like a good match with a ton of near falls and false finishes.
We'll talk about it.
Now, I I seriously don't know what the shoot match order was because and I get like they did I mean they didn't do commentary in post production. You could see DML at ringside doing commentary the whole time. But like obviously they edit it together in a certain way because Flair isn't in the 12-man tag, and they say it's due to the injuries he gets in the world title match. But when I looked at the match results, if these are the legitimate match order, the Kevin Flair match was after the 12-man tag. So in reality, he did not get injured by Kevin before the 12-man tag.
I'm so confused. There also were like some matches that we didn't get, which thank heavens in a couple of cases we did not
Yes.
see. They skipped Skip Young and Johnny Mantell going to a draw.
Yep.
Thankful for small miracles. We did
The-
not see Brian Adias and Scott Casey against the Kaniski brothers.
Yep.
One I'm actually sad about, we did not see Terry Gordy against Kamala.
Yep.
And I would have also been interested in seeing Gino and Chris against Scott Casey and the Great Kabuki, which
Yes.
you were right. Hercules Hernandez did not make it to to Texas
Yeah.
Stadium.
Poor Sunshine. And of all the people she could find to be her second person, Scott Casey. Oh God. Was Sean or not Sean? What's Casey Jones's first name here? Oh, Steve Casey
Stephen Casey
Jones.
Jones.
Yes. Like I said here, his first name's the same everywhere, just he has a
Yeah.
hyphenated last name
By the
here.
way, I don't know. He could have been on the show. Cage Match has Scott Casey in 2 matches.
Yes, and
And we do know that Steve Casey is working Mid South, but we do know that like half the people on this show work twice. Who the fuck knows? We can't. I'm gonna look at World Class Memories right now to see what they say, but it's probably not gonna be any more consistent or telling than what we can cobble together from Cage Match.
yeah, but I guess they did do all the Von Erich matches. I don't know why I thought we missed the Von Erich match, but nope. All right, so let's go to the tiny bit of audio that we have, the intro with everyone's favorite, drunk Mark Lawrence.
World Class Championship Wrestling presents Texas Stadium's Parade of Champions, the day we've been waiting for ever since last year. Hello again, everybody. Mark Lawrence standing in for Bill Mercer. A big crowd is on hand. It's a beautiful day, as today we see all of the great bouts of 1985 rolled into one. Highlighted by Kerry Von Erich versus the one-man gang with some added extras going on before and after. Stay with us for the entire hour, as we'll be back for our opening ceremonies in just a moment.
This explains why the show sucks so much the rest of the year. They put all the great bouts on one show.
The match order on World Class Memories is different, but also doesn't make any more sense. It just has it's the same as Cage Match except reversed. Except, well, no, it's different because they have the Midnight's a Fantastic match and the 12-man tag reversed, and they have Flair and Kevin out after Kerry and Gang, which I do think that Gang and Kerry probably did close the show.
Yeah, that seems to be everything that I saw about it. That seems to be what they said. And I'm looking to see if I can find the Observer from around that time to see what Dave
Yeah, that's what
says.
I was.
But
That's it's good instinct.
if I wanted to, maybe I should have done this before while we were recording this.
Yeah.
Up here we go. The 5-5 Texas Stadium show drew 26,000 and a gate well into excess of $250,000 as the Freebirds in the last night in town team of the Von Erichs to beat Rip Oliver, Steve Williams, Kamala, One Man Gang, Adams, Hernandez. Yeah, it doesn't. I guess he doesn't do it in order. Yeah, he just says, Flair double count outed Kevin in 22 minutes of a good but not excellent match.
Spoiler.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here he says that Flair was bloodied up and didn't return for the main event.
Huh.
So now I don't know if this is when he was still living in. Well, let me scroll down, see what the return address is here, because I don't know if he's still living in Texas at this time. Nope, he's in California, so he just may not have been there.
Okay, here's the tiebreaker. During the 12-man tag, did Gary Hart have hair? He did, right?
I don't remember them focusing on him.
They showed him though.
Did they?
At the beginning of the match, they definitely showed him at least once.
Yeah, for what it's worth, the ProWrestlingHistory.com, which is where I get a lot of my Smoky Mountain stuff, that lists the same order with the 3 out of 5 fall match being 7th out of 9, and Kerry versus Gang going last.
Well, you go on with whatever you're doing. I'm gonna check and
We're just gonna keep searching around for stuff we could have been looking up before the show started.
Are we gonna hear Drunk Mark Lawrence introduce Doris?
No, I didn't do that. Now we were introduced to a very special lady, Doris Von Erich. She looked like the last thing she wanted to do was get up and walk towards the ring, but Fritz grabbed her by the arm and led her. Kevin, Kerry, Mike, and yes, Chris Von Erich showed up and brought her flowers. I don't think this was the debut of Chris on the show. I think he was on last year when Kerry won the belt.
Okay, I have an answer.
Was Chris on the show last year? Oh, you mean something else?
Well,
okay.
no. The 12-man tag, Gary Hart is bald as a cue ball.
Interesting.
So
That
that
would confirm things.
probably means the 12-man tag went last.
More than likely. I mean, it would make sense too, because even though everyone lists the Kevin match as going like after the 12 man, Kevin was dry as a bone at the beginning of that match. He was not, he didn't have a good lather on him,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
that makes more sense with what they did at the. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's we've placed one match.
yes. Which hey, that works. And yeah,
I
I I pulled out the video myself, and yeah, Gary Hart is baldy. Oh yeah, he like not only is he bald, like he like because it wasn't completely clean. There was still some hair along the side.
yeah,
He went to the back and
yeah,
finished the job.
and I
So,
bet Skip Young and Johnny Mantell really was the opener.
oh yeah, my instinct is they were not the semi-main.
Yeah.
By the way, and I mentioned this to you because the way they had two hard cameras. One was, as you'd expect, looking at the rings side by side because there were two rings. Then the other was at the 90-degree angle. And the way, and I don't know how to even describe this, but the way everything was lined up, I thought there was only one ring there at first. And actually, I went back because I'm like, they showed something from a different event with one ring. But no, I had to screenshot and scroll in, and oh no, there's three posts on each side. So yeah, two rings.
That's
Oh
funny because do you recall our discussion a couple of weeks ago on Mid South when they showed a clip of something from Houston and you couldn't tell that it was two rings?
yes, yes.
That's funny.
I don't. I had an eye doctor appointment this morning too. You would think I would
Oh,
be better than
did you
this.
did you tell them you're having a hard time discerning wrestling rings when they're lined up against each other?
Well, this is before I watched the show, so
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well,
Maybe I
it
need to
hadn't
call my
it
doc and
hadn't
be like, you know,
it hadn't become a recurring problem yet.
yes. Maybe it's because my eyes got dilated today. Maybe
I hate
somehow that
that.
causes me being able to see a
Yeah,
second ring.
yeah.
I did forget to mention this. I really need to take better notes about what I want to talk about before the show. Tomorrow on TNA, they announce Impact is coming on June 4th on Fox
All
Sports Net.
right.
So here is your reminder, whatever Wednesday that is, I think it's June 3rd. Yes, Wednesday, June 3rd, the 300th episode of Something Else, 3 weeks from tomorrow. It is 3 hours of TNA. It is three hosts. And hopefully we don't actually go 3 hours. But it is the first ever King of the Mountain match, the first ever episode of Impact, the first time the three of us have ever been on the same podcast at the same time.
It's going to be tremendous because Cindy and I have never spoken.
Really
No.
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming Wednesday, June 3rd. Wednesday, June 3rd, 3rd, 3rd. Somehow, by sheer dumb luck, the 300th episode falls on such a momentous occasion. So, I you were obviously not a giant TNA fan. I don't know if anybody truly is a giant TNA fan, but if there is one, it's not you. Um, However, I do believe you would agree with this that TNA, like this is big fucking news. This is the first nationally televised show, put out since WCW died by a non-WWE company.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you know, things
Hey,
sometimes work out for them.
I was there at 3:30 p.m. on June 4th, 2004.
He missed half the show since it started at 3, but yeah.
No, it started at no, it was a 1 hour show and it
Yep.
started at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central.
It went to 4 p.m. after a while, but it started at 3 when they first debuted. But they did. We talked
Okay,
about it.
well, whatever.
We talked about this tomorrow, where they were able to cut a deal with Fox Sports Net so it would air at 3 o'clock in every time zone. So you wouldn't have people in California having to watch it at noon, for instance. Now, of course,
Well,
it got pushed around depending on all the fake sports being played.
yeah. Again, and it. Well, why don't we just talk about it on the 300th show?
Yes, we should.
We got a show to talk about here, kind of.
Yes, we do. So after we get introduced to a very special lady, Doris Von Erich, yeah, if you ever needed proof that Chris should have gotten into wrestling, he's 15, meaning he is going through puberty right now. He has probably had his giant growth spurt. He is a foot shorter than every one of his brothers. You know?
He was, yeah. That I had that thought too. It was kind of sad. Like it wouldn't have been sad if you didn't know. It would have just been like, there's this young boy, but you know that it's Chris Von Erich.
Then the lovely Sherry DeMalzo was introduced. Anybody wondering who the fuck she is? She's in charge of syndication and is responsible for the tapes.
And various other dignitaries and whatnot.
Yep, we're told that Sam Mushnick is the father of the NWA. Who do you think the mother of the NWA is? Is it Mae Young, maybe? Her and Sam fucked in a St. Louis hotel room and the NWA was born.
Imagine if that hand had just had like an NWA championship ring on.
Oh God, that would be tremendous. Rip Oliver versus Jim Cornette versus Mike Von Erich.
Oh, a three-way. All right.
Didn't I say Rip Oliver with Jim Cornette?
Yeah, you said Rip Oliver versus Jim Cornette versus Mike Von Erich.
Jim Cornette was not involved in this match, or if he was, he just stuck to the outside.
He was there.
Ricky Hazard is your referee for this first match. I don't know why I noted that, since I didn't note it in any other match, except we have multiple matches with two referees. So I guess they only had two referees on the show because Bronco wasn't on the show at all, unless he did the dark matches.
Yeah, all of the matches that aired were either Rick Hazard, David Manning, or Rick Hazard and David Manning.
Fucking David Manning.
Goddamn David Manning, Von Erich, fantastic. I'm going to talk about that fucker here in a minute.
And only a minute, because it's the next match. But since Drunk Mark Lawrence couldn't do both commentary and ring announcing, and some people says he can't do either, Ralph Pulley handles the ring announcing. And spoiler for you right now, I never appreciated Drunk Mark Lawrence as a ring announcer so much in my fucking life.
It's like, oh, you're mean to poor Ralph Pulley.
I was mean to poor Ralph Pulley during the 12-man tag that he kept fucking up the announcement of.
I find it very entertaining how bad he is at
this. So Rip-thumbed Mike. Jim kept attempting to show Mike the proper way to swing a racket, but kept being stopped from doing such a thing. And then Rip never cheated in this match. Every time they tried to cheat, they got caught. However, Mike Von Erich thwacked Rip with his cast for the pin. What a heel. Because remember, Rip broke his arm in the door in Fort Worth a few weeks ago that we just found out about last week.
Yes, that we would not know anything about Mike's cast if we had not watched the Fort Worth TV last week. Like, I wonder if he ever shows up with it on the Sportatorium show.
It'll happen probably right around the time the TV title gets defended on the Sportatorium show.
Well, I mean, technically, I guess this match probably does air on that show, technically.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah. So it happened before the TV title showed up on World Class Television. But yeah, honestly, of all things considered, like, and I know this wasn't the opener, but this was a perfectly fine opener.
This was totally fine. I don't want to shit on Mike. Mike's about to go through a bad time.
Yep, but thankfully they did not plug the tour of Israel this week.
Oh.
So I guess I just did. The Midnight Express with Jim Cornette versus the Fantastics with Little John for the vacant American Tag Team titles. I don't want to imply that this show was not edited in the correct order, but Jim Cornette was wearing a completely different suit.
Huh.
Yeah, he was wearing a black shirt with a white tie in the opener, and he came out here in a tux with a pink shirt with a frilly dicky. You know,
He changes really fast.
yes. Now I thought, and this was just me just reading into things, I guess. I thought when they kept saying this was going to be a two-ring match, it was basically going to be two singles matches. But like the 12-man tag, they were freely allowed to wrestle in each other's rings and break up pinfalls and whatnot. It was like basically more or less a street fight, just less blatant. I will say, whatever you want to say about Little John, and to be honest, I'm pretty much unfamiliar with Little John. I don't think I've ever seen him have a match. However, when him and Cornette are outside the ring, and Cornette really doesn't want to be there with Little John, but John growls at him to sit, and Cornette just immediately sits down, I popped. Shockingly,
Okay.
Jim Cornette is good at his job.
That was probably the highlight of the match, honestly.
Um, they worked hard. It was a shitty finish.
Look,
I do want before you tell us how shitty the finish was. I do want to bitch about the ring crew a little bit because they had particle boards set up around the ring on top of the Cowboys football field, except it wasn't flush against it, so there was constant gaps in the particle board. And I'm like, how is nobody like breaking an ankle on that thing?
can I talk
Uh,
about this match now, please?
yes, you can.
Okay, look. I am not criticizing Dennis or Bobby or Tommy or Jim Cornette or even. I mean, I am going to criticize Little John, but not for the match sucking. Even though, like, okay, so the thing with Little John is the spot was funny that you mentioned, but like you can hear Cornette and Little John, and Cornette is trying to be entertaining, and Little John just fucking sucks. And then this match, like it was supposed to, like one ring is Bobby Fulton and Dennis Condrey, and the other ring is no, fuck, I fucked it up because
I have
I
Bobby
wrote
Eaton and Tommy Rogers in one ring.
okay, that is probably right. I wrote I wrote Condrey in both rings, but anyway, they're in different rings, and then they're in the same ring, and then they're fucking around with a chair, and then fucking it's a no DQ match. Now
More or
remember
less.
that. It's been stated it was a no DQ match. But then when Jim Cornette manages to get the chair into the Midnight Express, fucking biased referee David Manning Von Erich Fantastic takes it away. And then at this point they've swapped opponents. And then they bumped David Manning and a bunch of shit happened. And here I think that they meant to do stereo pinfalls, right? You think that's what they meant to do?
Oh yeah,
Do we think?
most
Okay,
definitely.
here's what happened. They bumped Dennis Condrey. Cornette hit Bobby Fulton with the tennis racket. Dennis Condrey pinned Bobby Fulton 1, 2, 3. And then after Dennis Condrey pinned Bobby Fulton 1, 2, 3, Tommy Rogers schoolboyed Bobby Eaton and pinned him. And then the fucking referees talked for about 6 fucking days. And then they awarded the match to the guys who got the second fucking pinfall for reasons. I nominate Ken Mantell for the Something Else Hall of This Sucks for being such a fucking shitty booker that he fucked up in Midnight Express versus Fantastics match.
1 second here. Being such a shitty booker, he fucked up a Midnight Express versus Fantastics match.
everything. Look, I know Arya's gonna defend to some degree the next match. Everything to do with this fucking 2-ring bullshit was stupid.
I have to ask because we saw in TNA some epically shitty, mistimed double pinfalls. There was a moment with Triple X and I think the New Church where low key pinned one of the New Church, and the one of the referees had to hold up his count an absurdly amount of time so the other guys could get their count, get in position for their count, and that cut the cake for like the worst timed double pin I'd ever seen in my life until this. Because they say David Manning gets on the mic and says it was a simultaneous pinfall, and obviously it wasn't. How much do you blame referee Ricky Hazard for it, though? Because he had I don't blame, who was a Condrey and Fulton, I think were the first ones. Like, he had a clear shot of the other ring and could see that, like, not only was there not a fall, but even if there was a pinfall going on, like, that was when David Manning was still bumped and was severely out of position. Like, he should have, like, he would have looked stupid, but it wouldn't have been less stupid than the actual finish if he would have held up his count.
I
But it's like even if it was like supposed to be a simultaneous double pin fin, which is what they're saying, because that's what David Manning got on the microphone and said, why would it go to the Fantastics? Like,
because the fucking blatant referee favored. We need Ken Mantell from the NWA, whatever the fuck, to investigate this crooked referee David Manning Von Erich Fantastic.
now what they could have said, and I was kind of expecting this because David Manning Von Erich is, very stern when the heels break the rules. I thought what they might have said was he saw Jim Cornette hit Fulton with the racket. And so he, as the senior referee, is has the authority to wave off the Midnight Express's pin, and thus his pin for the Fantastics would be the legal pin and the championship win. That, while still being a bit biased, would make more sense than this.
It would if it wasn't a fucking no DQ match.
I get that. And then, by the way, Drunk Mark Lawrence on commentary, all he says is, "What more can I say?" I'm like, I've never agreed with that man more in my life.
It's entirely fair, Drunk Mark Lawrence.
Yeah.
So you sent me an image today of, what did you say it was, Cornette's pay stub from whatever this week?
I sent you a couple, but yeah, that was the one because I was trying to find the Cornette video that we've talked about, where he talked about the finish he pitched for the Flair Kevin match, and I heard a video where he said that when they got paid for this show, that's when they put in their notice.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up. So yeah, Midnight. I wouldn't have been happy with any part of this, and I'm sure that they weren't. They especially weren't happy with the payday, and this show's about to take a fucking hit in quality.
Yep, $1,150, which I mean, yes, if you run it through, what it would be in this day and age, he got about $3,500 in 2026 money, which sure doesn't sound too bad. It's like, but it was a $250,000 house. He was out there 3 times, and not the Von Erichs, pardon me, but the Midnight Express and him got paid the exact same amount. That was part of their deal, and so yeah, they all got gypped on their money, I would say. And it's like he was also talking about that he'd get a quote unquote good payday from World Class, which would be like $300, which would be what he'd make in Mid South for a low level payday.
Yeah, and again, at this time, like, they were still working, like New Orleans, Tulsa, Oak City, whatever, for Watts. they were getting more for those shots than they were getting for a week in world class.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I wasn't doing the accounting for world class, but it makes you wonder how I guess it makes sense as to how world class lasted into '89 before Fritz finally sold. Because one of the other pictures I sent you was 2 years from now, they're at Texas Stadium again, and that place looks pretty fucking empty. And if you think that's bad, and I know we're not going to get that far, wait till the '88 Parade of Champions. There's nobody fucking there. Like they keep like I watch it, there's like 15 minutes of it on YouTube, and like you'd see the matches and like 90% of the stadium's completely empty, and then they do a close-up shot of like 10 fans sitting next to each other, so it looks like a lot of people there. But you can't hide. I can't imagine there's more than like 2,000 people there.
Is that the
Uh,
one where the main event is fucking Kerry and Iceman?
I didn't. I watched enough to see what the crowd looked like. They did the triple cage match that WCW stole a few months later for Great American Bash,
Hmm.
the Tower of Doom.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Um. All right. So the Von Erichs and the Freebirds versus Kamala, Dr. S.C. Williams, the one-man gang, dynamic duo, and Rip Oliver with Gary Hart, Jim Cornette, and General Skandor Akbar in a 3 out of 5 falls match for $100,000 and a Lincoln Continental from Guy Laney, Lincoln Mercury, and Denton. And exhale. And we are told that Mr. Flair's severe injuries are making him unable to wrestle.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. We've had this conversation.
Now, here's what was funny. They did make a point to say that in the first fall, any infighting between teammates would cause both of them to be thrown out of the match. Why was that only a rule in the first fall? Like, it never came into play at all, spoiler alert. But why was that only a rule in the first fall?
Well, surely if it was going to happen, it would happen in the first fall.
I guess.
I don't know.
And don't call me Shirley. But so I'm going to get my biggest criticism out of the way first. Why were so many fucking people in this match in short red tights?
You could have stopped after why were so many fucking people in this match, honestly.
The worst fucking was Buddy Roberts and Rip Oliver were wrestling each other, and they both have bleach blonde hair, and they both have short red tights on. But like Gino, Hayes, I guess that was it. But 4 out of 12 was a lot of fucking people in one match.
No, Gino, Hayes, Rip, and Buddy were all in red trunks, weren't they?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, I already said Rip and what's his name were.
And Doc was also in a red singlet, which blended in. Like Gordy was in black trunks.
But at least Doc was in a red singlet. You know, those 4 that we mentioned were all in short red tights.
Yeah.
At least first, you know, Hayes has way too much body hair, and also like his blonde hair is a lot longer than Rip and Buddy's, and then Gino has his brown hair. So at least I didn't ever get confused which one was Hayes and which one was Gino.
I stayed confused this whole fucking match because there were 12 goddamn people in 2 rings, and like you have a shot of some wrestlers fighting, and then you change to a different shot of different wrestlers fighting, and then occasionally there's a pin that you can kind of see. I didn't get much out of this. This was a big spectacle, but it was hard to follow.
There was a lot of chaos happening in this match. Personally, I think they would have done better if they just kept it at the one long shot of the 2 rings side by side, so you can kind of watch what you like as it's going on. But yeah. By the way, Dr. S.C. Williams is so much tougher than Rip Oliver. Because remember in the opener, Rip Oliver got pinned after 1 cast shot. Mike Von Erich was openly punching Doc over and over again with his cast. And Doc is more or less no-selling it.
Oh, I would almost kind of be amused to see Doc against Mike.
I don't think Doc's going to last much longer in world class if he's no-selling Mike Von Erich, especially when Mike's hitting him with a cast. Gino pinned Kerry after a Chris Adams super kick for the first fall. Ralph Pulley declared the heel team has won $100,000. No one bothered to clue him in that it was best 3 out of 5 falls, even though he announced it at the beginning of the fucking match.
Well, how could he know what he said 3 fucking minutes ago?
I wrote chaos and anarchy ensued in the second fall, and Gino pinned Hayes after the better than you, baby, double clothesline.
Yes.
Ralph then declared we have at least 3 falls to go.
At least 3 falls when the heels were up. Ralph Pulley doesn't know anything.
No, he doesn't. This is why he's on the Fort Worth show. Oh, God. Kerry pinned Oliver to make it 2-1. Afterwards, Gang picked up Kerry illegally, which is what DML told us. And then both he and Kamala laid on him. And then due to that, Kerry was injured by this horrible situation. And that's when the May 11th show went off the air. Now we fast forward a week where magically we are still at the David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions, and we're still in this match, which, even though Kerry should not continue after having 1,000 pounds of man laying on him, he did continue, and it didn't really come back at all because he's not even involved in either of the finishes moving forward. By the way, I also realized that Kamala is a very civilized Ugandan giant now, or at least he's more civilized than he was, because do you remember a year or so ago on this show, Akbar was looking for someone to go after the 6-man tag titles and said that he couldn't use Kamala because Kamala doesn't know how to work a tag match. He can't stand in the corner and wait for a tag. Well, here on this match, here on this show, he was standing in the corner waiting for a tag.
Did you say that Kerry wasn't in any of the other decisions?
No.
I have a mistake here then.
I wrote that Buddy Roberts pinned Gino, and then Kevin speared Doc. Am I wrong?
I wrote that Kerry pinned Oliver again, but which one of us fucked up is anybody's guess. As we noted, there was a lot of people who looked the fucking same. I don't know.
Well, who knows? It's the confusion is over the 4th fall, because the 5th fall is definitely Kevin pinning Doc.
Yeah, the fabulous Von Erich Birds won another fall, and then Kevin pinned Doc, which was like kind of cool.
I actually because Hayes got a lot of near falls in that 5th fall, and the crowd was into it, including one where they actually thought it was the finish. So this is what I was enjoying about the match. Yeah, it took a little bit to get there, but I was enjoying the chaos and anarchy that was going on. And then the finish was Kevin ran from one ring, dove over both sets of ropes, and I tend to think that Doc was just a little too far away because it wasn't meant to be this, but he more or less dove over both sets of ropes with a spear to Doc because he was falling down, but dove into Doc's stomach.
Man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And this is where you'll hate me. I wrote all WCCW matches should be 3 out of 5 falls. It would at least break up an 11-minute nothing match with Rip Oliver and, what's his name? Fucking John Mantell. If in those 11 minutes we had 5 falls.
Maybe that should have been the secret to the Fort Worth show.
There you go. So I enjoyed the match more than Trae did, apparently. Yeah.
Freebirds, at least Hayes and Buddy going to the AWA.
That's interesting, I guess we'll say.
I
can't imagine they lasted long in the AWA.
To the end of '85 at least.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, well, I'm sure Hayes comes back, but I know Hayes and Jim Ross are at least one of the announced teams on the UWF next year. And I know Gordy comes back because there's that because when Fritz has a heart attack, Gordy is the one that cuts the promo talking about how Kerry can't even ride a motorcycle.
They will be back in Dallas in January, and then in Mid South or in the UWF starting in May of '86.
Nice. Because yeah, Gordy is a UWF champion, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's Gordy, Doc, and Big Bubba. Spoiler alert.
was One Man Gang not? Did I
I
make
don't
that up?
see. I thought he was, but I don't. But then well, no, maybe I wasn't looking it up properly. Maybe he was. We'll find out. I know Big Bubba was. I know Doc was, and I know Gordy was.
Gordy, Gang, Bubba, Doc were the four.
Okay, great. So okay, what did you think Gary Hart was calling the one man gang at during the post match angle here?
Moon.
Okay, I did not figure that out until later on in the show. I was like, what the fuck is he saying? He's saying Mon? Why is he calling one man gang Mon? And he told or Moon to destroy the car with the chain. Mike and Kerry ran at top speed to make the save. So mercifully, the car has been saved. David Manning Von Erich stole the chain and for some reason decided to walk it towards the heel locker room when, oh my God, Gino and Chris ran out. And I'm like, Gino grabs the chain, but is like awkward about it when he's running with it. So it's like by the time he starts smashing the car, it's like everybody in the world could have made the save, but nobody did. And Gino smashed up the windshield of Kevin Von Erich's brand new Lincoln Continental from Guy Laney, Lincoln Mercury in Denton, Texas.
That was the best part of all this, especially Chris jumping up and kicking the windshield. That was the highlight of this whole mess.
The best is they're acting like, oh my God, we can't have, the car's ruined forever.
Now I understand that it's the principle of the thing, but Kevin does have 1/6 of $100,000 coming,
He has
and
$16,666 67
a new
cents.
a new windshield ain't even gonna make a dent. Did I ever tell you that I had a job for about a month installing windshields?
I don't think so. Is this a joke or
Yeah.
is this the actual shoot?
No, that's just a lore drop.
Nice. Any fun stories from it?
No, wasn't very good at it. Didn't last very long. It's another one of many things that I failed at in life. But here we are doing a podcast.
It's all good. When I saw it and they're like, oh man, the car is ruined. In my mind, all I can hear is safe light repair, safe light replace. I'm just happy that's not a Northeast thing, so you got the reference.
No, yeah.
NWA World Champion Ric Flair versus Kevin Von Erich. Yeah, this video was edited together weird. Drunk Mark Lawrence was too drunk to lie about the attendance. I mean, I guess he was because really 26,000 and change, but he said it was about 30,000 people, which is the truth. It was about 30,000 people. But if he would have said 40,000, I doubt anybody would have questioned it because it was a very healthy crowd right here. There's a lot of people in that crowd. And they did, at first I was going to call him out on bullshit because he said that there were people in the upper deck. I'm like, no, there's not. Like, I'm looking all around the stadium. There's nobody in the upper deck, but they turned the camera and like, oh, there are people in the upper deck. I wonder why. They could be in the lower deck where there's empty seats. But, oh well.
People just like it there, like the view.
By the way, did you notice drunk Mark Lawrence became Bill Watts for a minute?
Oh, did he?
Not geopolitical Bill Watts, but he started bitching about how you might see people call
Oh,
themselves world
yes.
champion in other promotions.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I mean, it was a valid statement of the NWA principles.
yep. I always like Jerry Lawler's explanation about when he gave up the AWA title and the world class title was you know, like Ric Flair is a company champion. Hulk Hogan is a company champion, but he is the only true world champion and challenges anybody from any promotion to come to Memphis and challenge him for the true world title.
There you go.
Uh, yes. So they did a lot of good finishes here too. Kevin got on a sleeper hold. Flair barely got the ropes. They did pretty much every trope you could think of where you would normally see that and go, oh, that's the finish, but it wasn't. Flair did his corner bump, but a cameraman was in the way, so he just went to the second ring, where Kevin did his second dive on the show from one ring onto the other. Then, Drunk Mark Lawrence did not play this up enough, and I don't know if Mercer would have. Um, Kevin did the backslide, which was the move that Kerry won the world title with. However, the difference between Kevin and Kerry is Kevin was too close to the ropes when he did it, and Flair got his foot on there. And
Yep.
I thought that was a great spot. Uh, Jim Ross really would have put that over, but shockingly, they did not bring in Jim Ross to do commentary here in World Class. Uh,
You know
but
who else would have done that? Who's really great at that? Chris Charlton.
I thought you were going to say Michael Cole. Michael Cole isn't really great at it because Jim Ross knows these things from memory. I believe Chris Charlton knows these things from memory. Michael Cole does an excellent job of researching stuff, and he can read from his notes like there's no tomorrow. However, yeah, I doubt Michael Cole remembers what he had for lunch yesterday if he doesn't have it on a note in front of him.
Why would you?
Uh, that is, by the way, the last time we will put over Michael Cole on this podcast. And this is a podcast that regularly puts over Mike Adamle. So
One person on this podcast puts over Mike Adamle.
regularly. Um, let's see here. Kevin got the claw on, but they ended up on the floor, and Flair pulled Kevin down twice to ensure a double count out. I was listening to Cornette again because, like I said, I was looking to see what he had recommended as a finish. And his idea, because this finish is overplayed, the pulling down the guy to ensure a count out thing, his idea was have Kevin put on the claw, but they're on the apron between the two rings. So technically they're outside of the barriers of the ring. And Kevin gets Flair down and the bell rings and Kevin pops up thinking, man, I won the world title. The crowd may even go nut thinking that they won the world title. But Ricky Hazard is like, you were outside the ring. It's a count out.
Like, look, I'm not saying that that's like a good finish, but that was the word I'm looking for.
That it would
I
have
could
been
have sworn I wrote something here. A slightly more original double count out was what I wrote that Cornette pitched.
yeah. Plus, by doing it between the rings, you could make the argument that Kevin assumed that counted because
Yeah.
they were within the boundaries of the ring, even though they were between the two.
Look, they couldn't change the belt, and they weren't going to beat one of the boys, so they had to do a shitty finish. The options, Cornette pitched a better finish, but they didn't do it.
So I have to go back and go into the Cornette archive to find some stuff because the video I saw of him talking about him pitching that finish, he talked about being in the booking meeting, with Ken Mantell and David Manning was there. The Adams and Gino were there. And he was not a fan. Maybe it was just the day he was in a grumpy mood. I don't know. He was not a fan of Gino and Chris. And he specifically said that Gino and Chris didn't want Cornette in the booking meetings because that could have been the end of that. It could have been the Midnight Express now getting more of a push instead of Gino and Chris, and seemed a little bitter about it. And I know we're going to say, wow, Jim Cornette sounded bitter about something, but I don't know. That seemed out of nowhere because I don't think I'd ever heard him, you know, be angry at Gino and Chris before.
Yeah, well, who knows? It's 40 years ago.
Things worked out for Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, but I think we've discussed, and he's discussed at length, that probably other than fucking working for Jim Herd or working with Vince Russo, this is probably the least favorite time of his career.
Yeah. So after the match, Kevin got the claw back on and refused to break, even when Kerry and Mike tried to make the save. And finally, Fritz hobbled down and got Kevin to stop. Honestly, part of me wonders if they tried to pitch Doris to do it, and Doris, to me anyway, seems very obviously not wanting to be involved in this at all. You know, but because I mean,
Yeah,
you could totally see Kevin stopping for his mom. Makes sense.
yeah.
So some backstory, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I've been waiting for a few weeks to talk about this part. So Hornbaker brings this up in his Ric Flair book. Fritz was pushing really hard for Kevin to get a run with the belt, and there was even consideration that they might, pull the trigger and give him the same couple week title reign like Kerry did, and especially because they're still at the point where Vince is taking over, and for whatever reason, they consider Fritz and his boys an important part of the NWA. And so there was consideration of appeasing him by giving him a quick run with the belt. However, in a move that in some ways will A, help kill the NWA, and B, cement JCP as more or less the NWA moving forward, Jim Crockett signed several wrestlers, including Flair, to exclusive contracts that supersede the NWA, and the contract specifies that JCP has the final say on any booking decisions regarding Flair. So if they want Flair to lose the title outside of the territory, Jim Crockett has to agree to it. And it also tells you just how weak the NWA was at the time, that they couldn't do anything to stop that. Because Ric Flair, like, not only was the NWA weak, but Ric Flair was way too big of a star to say, oh no, we're stripping you of the belt and putting it on somebody else who's in a territory that we can control.
Well, I mean, 85, who was left? Crockett and Fritz. Is Florida,
Florida, I think, is
Florida still limping on?
Florida's still limping on. I think Kansas City's still limping on.
Kansas City was always limping. Georgia is part of Crockett now.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was they're 85. There ain't too much NWA left, and even though, I'm sure they weren't happy, but as you mentioned earlier, Mark Lawrence took great care to put over that Ric Flair was that the NWA World Champion was the World Champion.
Yep. Also, and obviously they weren't official parts of the NWA, but Mid-South was still, not affiliation, but they had a loose affiliation with the NWA. They recognized the NWA Champion. Memphis, actually, I don't know. Have they switched to the AWA yet?
Probably, because what year did Lawler and Flair do the thing on Memphis TV? Was that 82, 83?
I don't know. I think 82. But yeah. So it's but to be fair, Memphis just had an affiliation with anybody who was willing to put the title on Lawler, even though the AWA didn't until 88. And what else? Oh yeah, that's about it for the NWA. And we'll see if we notice this. I saw someone make notes of this, that I think it's August is the last time that Drunk Mark Lawrence does the intro that says these bouts are sanctioned by the National Wrestling Alliance, etc. I wonder if we'll notice that when we get to that. Even though After that, Flair still comes back for one match with Lance in October, which, yes, yes. The last NWA title match on World Class Television, or World Class at all, was Ric Flair versus Lance Von Erich.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Suddenly, you understand a whole bunch about what happened with the NWA at this time. Uh, I mean, I guess they still. I mean, I would say they were a part of the NWA, but they still had. Was it All Japan or New Japan at this point? It was All Japan, right? That they had the affiliation with.
With the NWA, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I although I don't. I wouldn't say All Japan was a member of the NWA.
No, All Japan was a member. All
Okay.
Japan was the like that was why New Japan never got the NWA champion because Bob because All Japan was a member. Now, technically, like at some point, New Japan was allowed to join, but because of Baba, they never got the NWA champion, and like Inoki wasn't allowed to be a member. Like Sakaguchi was the New Japan member of the NWA.
Until '92 when Chono got the belt.
Right, and that was I'm trying to think. When was the first WCW New Japan thing? 91. That was Flair and Fujinami.
Yes. Yes.
Because the WCW Crockett and All Japan had fallen out in 89.
When with their booking of Steamboat.
Yeah.
It was
And then
the
that's
booking
when
the booking of Steamboat in All Japan, and also that Clash of the Champions, which really doesn't sound like a big deal nowadays, but for whatever reason, it really pissed off All Japan when Tenryu came over to do a six-man tag title match on a Clash of the Champions, and instead they just did a big, crazy sports entertainment-y angle with with them and the Road Warriors, Tenryu and the Road Warriors, Sting, Michael Hayes, and I think Junkyard Dog, and the Varsity Club. And for some reason, that really pissed off All Japan, and they responded by putting Steamboat in mid-card matches on the next tour.
and all of this is linked because that was when Baba lost access to the NWA World Champion and created the Triple Crown.
Yeah, I'm happy you pointed out because I honestly don't know enough Japanese history to know that that's how the Triple Crown got made.
They were in like one. I don't know if one directly had caused the other because they had teased unifying the three belts in like '88, and I'm not sure exactly because when was Steamboat's tour? It had to have been like
March
fucking
of
March.
'89. Yeah.
Okay. If I'm remembering right, they unified the Triple Crown in April of '89 with Jumbo and Tenryu.
I'll take your word for that. But yeah. Kerry Von Erich versus One Man Gang in a Fritz's Health versus Gary's Hair for Life match. Fritz and Kerry were handcuffed together outside the ring. I presume that's so Fritz can't run away after the match. And this is where I noted that Gang has Moon written on his tights, which may have been what Gary called him earlier. As a matter of fact, after I wrote that, Gary yelled that Moon was doing a great job. What? I don't even get where that's coming from. Where's Moon coming from?
I don't know, but I knew it was a thing because we just read Lizzie's book and she said that they called each other it Moon and Slick. Which remember a couple of weeks ago?
Oh yeah,
Gang got very upset that he wanted Drunk Mark Lawrence to call Gary Hart Slick,
and then he didn't on the show here. So I think Drunk Mark Lawrence may be in for a beating coming up soon. So speaking of our good friend Drunk Mark Lawrence, he violated the first rule of broadcasting as he yelled at us that Fritz dragged Gary to Ricky Hazard, and we have no idea that happened because it wasn't what was on the television.
That's why he had to tell us.
The finish, I think I must have been zoning out because I didn't see the first half of this finish and I had to rewind because all I saw was Fritz cheating. I'm like, motherfucker, it's running in the family, I guess. But no, the finish saw Kerry pick up Gang for a slam, and Gary Hart tripped him. And I probably missed it because even though Gary Hart tripped him, Kerry was on top, and they had to roll over. And then Gang ran the ropes, so Fritz tripped him, and Kerry pinned him for the win. Yes, Kerry won because Fritz tripped the one-man gang.
That's exactly what happened.
I gotta say, this is one of those times where it's like, I remember reading Gary Hart's book, and at times I'm like, this guy is full of his own shit. He he really felt like he was too cool for school here. Like when he lost this match, he was not freaking out. He wasn't happy, but he was just like, "You're kidding me, right? I have to shave my head now?" You know, like when you think about
Well,
hair losses in World Class, especially you think of like Gino and Chris, where they had to be carried back to the ring to get their head shaved. And
spoilers.
spoiler alert for our 40-year-old wrestling show. Um, but like Gary Hart was just like, I'm gonna sit down in this chair and you're gonna cut my hair and I'm gonna yell at Moon to undo the turnbuckle because yes, the Von Erichs hit the ring and handcuffed Gang to the ropes, and so Gary told Gang to turn the turnbuckle, and he was doing just that. And I don't know. It's been a while since I put up a wrestling ring. I didn't think it took that long to undo the turnbuckle, but by the time he undid it, Gary was bald. Um,
I think it would take quite a long time to undo that turnbuckle.
I guess I was thinking like because obviously one man gang was using his hands, but
Yeah,
when you have it, you have the little wrench there.
right. Like I've seen
Um,
people do that, and it looks like it takes for fucking ever. I've never put up a wrestling ring, but yeah.
I have a spoiler alert for you. Those posts are really fucking heavy.
No,
I know you're probably shocked to hear that, but yeah, those posts are really fucking heavy. Hey, it's one thing off my bucket list. I set up a wrestling ring.
there you go.
Yep. I couldn't do anything else successfully, but hey, I helped a group of 12 people set up a ring. Um, but yeah, so that is that for World Class. I know you're super sad we didn't get to see Skip Young versus Johnny Mantell in a 10-minute time limit draw. Although Skip Young, Johnny Mantell, and Brian Adias did run out as the first wave of people to try to help out, but they got their asses kicked.
Can't believe they skipped Skip.
Yep, I'll be honest, I felt bad because Skip Young runs out, and I'm like, some black guy is running out with Brian Diaz and what's his name, Johnny Mantell. I had to go back and read the dark matches to realize who some black guy was.
Wow.
Yep. I one second, I just got a Twitter. Nope. But yep. Lizzy says sorry. Hope you guys weren't waiting on me. Like it happens. We'll reschedule.
It's okay.
Um, so any thoughts about Asuka doing whatever Asuka is doing?
Well, Asuka has earned the right to do whatever the fuck she wants.
Yep. She, I guess I don't know if there's actually gonna be an angle on Raw, but she lost the match at Backlash, and then she cried. They hugged each other, and you know, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, and I guess this means that the reverse Undertaker streak will never come to an end.
I'm sorry.
The reverse Undertaker streak. Asuka was like 0-7 at WrestleMania.
Oh, well.
Apparently, Michael Cole, and this is the second time we've now mentioned Michael Cole on the show, he said that Asuka's future is up in the air on Raw. That is according to Wrestle Purists on Twitter. I think
Oh,
I need to unfollow some people. Time for a dream match. And I don't know who she's wrestling, but this person wrote time for a dream match with Sol Ruka in the ring. Like I
uh,
I admittedly, again, I don't watch WWE, so it's very limited. But I can't imagine Sol Ruka being in anything that I would consider a dream match. least in 2026. Yeah, and I'm just skipping through the Twitter. Apparently, on their podcast today, the Young Bucks talked about how they had a negotiation with Paul to have a 6-man match with the New Day at some point.
Huh.
Did not happen.
No, it
Spoiler
didn't.
alert. Let's see here. I'm getting a lot of Buffalo Bills stuff popping up on my feed because, shockingly, I follow a lot of Buffalo Bills fans pages. So when I'm actually, for once in my life, trying to find wrestling news, I can't find it. Apparently, the Judgment Day are going to feud with Paige and Brie Bella. Yippee ki Melon Farmer. I bet that might make you watch Raw now to see Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez versus Paige and Brie Bella.
Apparently, AEW's audience is Antifa and trans, not people who play golf.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. It's some fucking random idiot tweet that I thought was kind of funny.
To be fair, they do have a lot of trans people who watch the show.
They do, because they're very nice people and they're not assholes about it.
Yes, we are. We are pretty all right people. And apparently Zilla Fatu is never going to sign with AEW. His heart is with WWE. Good for him.
It's too bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's about it. I guess we went a little bit longer than usual when we have no audio. Usually when we have no audio, we're done in like 55 minutes and we're stretching things. But anywho, that's going to do it for this week. TNA tomorrow, Smoky Mountain on Thursday. Trying to figure out when we're actually going to talk about Smoky Mountain as soon as I press stop. But that's going to do it for this week. I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you all enjoy the show, and we'll talk again in 7 days.
Bye.